Back for stat, back for the TBS title. Jade Cargill has returned to AEW and made her Collision debut all in one night. We're going to talk about what she is really on with this return to AEW and more in just a sec. This is WrstlXtra. So I'm going to have to do the intro because it looks like A-Dazzle ain't with us right now. What's up, people? Welcome to WrstlXtra. It's myself, Mex, the WrestleManiac, alongside one of the many trios partners we have here at WrstlXtra. It is Gerard Bonner, the Professor. What's up, Gerard?
What's going on, brother? How are you, man?
Yeah, all good, all good. I don't know what's going on with our trios partner.
Yeah.
He's not here. The internet ain't trying to let us live on this show these days.
It's really not. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. He's dropped out at this point, but I'm sure he'll be back soon.
Yeah, be back.
But yeah, a crazy week in the past week with returns. We're gonna get the show kicked off in regard to the Jade Cargill return. Obviously, she returned on Collision. I say return to AEW, but like I said, she made her Collision debut.
Mm-hmm.
And she came back in where she kind of left off following Statlander's defense of the TBS title. The Renegade Twins were here beating down on Statlander. Statlander was vulnerable. Cargill made the save. And even for a split second, I thought, are the Renegade Twins with Cargill? Like, that could be a nice little thing.
Yes.
But no, she beat them up. And then I thought, oh, okay, change the character. No, she proceeded to beat up Statlander as well. Took the belt, kissed the belt, said to the belt, I missed you, baby. All of that sort of thing. It's very clear where she's coming back to you. What did you think of the return of Jade Cargill?
Well, let's start by saying this. I think we're all pleasantly surprised that she's back. I didn't anticipate her back anytime soon, particularly after her missing both All In and All Out. For me, I'm like, if you're going to miss the biggest events of the year, clearly you are taking your time to do what you do. Now, here I go pontificating and saying that I do believe that her return was, dare I say, hastened by the exit of one CM Punk. You know, with CM Punk being kind of the star of Collision, with him having to go, they need other star power on this show. So you bring back Bryan Danielson the week before. Now you bring back Jade Cargill. I think clearly they're trying to stack the deck on Collision. So with that said, I understand the hastened return of Jade Cargill. Now, to me, the big question is, why is she in the picture for the TBS Championship? That's the piece that makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, let's face it, she has been the female face of this company. Why is she not being rewarded with the opportunity to fight for the world championship? I'm not sure. I actually think that the TBS title at this point is beneath her. We've already seen her with that title. We've seen her go 60-0. You know, we've seen all of the things. It's really time for her to be able to step up. Now, I don't know if somebody at AEW doesn't think that she's ready for that particular picture. You know, that could be the only reason. And ready being defined as in-ring activity, but she's so much of a star and she's so recognizable at this particular stage of the game. You really do want your most recognizable figures going out into mainstream spaces with that championship gold. That's a great look for you. So I understand the reason for her return. I don't understand yet the placement of her return.
Yeah, it is a bit of a funny one. Big up everyone in the live chat. We got here Eric Douglas says, why is she not in the world title picture? This is it. Like, I think that maybe they think if she is put into the world title picture, she may have to win it, which I know as a fan of Jade Cargill, if I see her in the world title picture, I'm going to be making up noise that she needs to win it.
Sure.
But I'm not, at the same time, I'm a fan, but I'm not stupid. Like, if she doesn't win it because she's not quite there yet, or, you know, right now they've put it on Saraya and they want to tell a story with her with the title for a bit, fair enough. But 100%, like you're saying, you know, before this moment, she's been in AEW for the best part of 2 years, considering when they started. Like, you could say 2.5 solid years she's been at AEW. The minute they established this title last year, January, they've put it on her, and she only lost it earlier this year. So to return her to the same place is very much like, and then I know this isn't how they see her, but it's very much like, this is how we see you, or this is where we see you, sort of thing. And it's not the case. We all know it's not the case. Like, so there has to be an element of growth. I really don't think there's anything in, even like, as defense, Statlander defends it against Cargill and Statlander wins again. I really don't think there's just any point in doing that. Like, if and that's probably where they go. I can't even see Jade winning it again. And if Jade wins it again, that's a whole another conversation on what are we doing? Is this some type of holding pattern sort of thing? Like, they could have just given her, you know, a few, you know, marquee-ish level matches. Britt Baker's a face right now, more or less, and with nothing to do because Jamie Hayter's not around. Give her Britt Baker. You know, she's the other kind of top dog in this division. Or, like I say, use her in the world title picture. But they've chosen to kind of return her to where I think she left off.
Yeah, it's a move that doesn't make sense, and I agree with you. I mean, I think there are some marquee feuds that she could have come back to be a part of that would have given us the picture that, okay, she's comfortably done with the entire TBS division. Now we march on, and we're good with a chase, right? Like, I don't think anybody expects her to walk back and the next week end up in a world title match. But I think we do expect to be able to at least see that's the road that we're heading down. And again, I understand Saraya just won the championship. You know, you want to give her an opportunity. I'm totally good with that. But, you know, think about it. You mentioned Britt Baker. There's the rest of the outcasts, if they even are the outcasts anymore, right? Like, they're all, I mean, whether it's Soho, all that's going on with Tony Storm, you know, there's a lot of spaces that she could come back to really, you know, start doing some work. So I think this TBS title move may have backed AEW in a corner because it's kind of a no-win, right? Like, if Kris Statlander wins, okay, we expect, I mean, like, you want her to lose? You know, if Kris Statlander wins, then, okay, what does that mean for Jade? If Jade wins, what does that mean for Kris Statlander? You know what I mean? So that's why I say they've kind of backed themselves into a corner with this one. I don't know where this goes. I really don't. I'm imagining that they're trying to set up things for the big New York show that's coming up in a couple of weeks and have Jade and Kris Statlander battle there. But then what? You know, yeah, Kris Statlander has kind of tried to be the Seth Rollins of AEW in terms of, I'm going to defend my title every week. I'm a fighting champion. And I say this with all due respect. I don't think that all of those matches have added to the TBS Championship's lineage. I don't think we see that title as any more important. I don't think we see Statlander as that much more important. You know, maybe they want the Jade feud to happen to make Statlander look like that next level or top tier star, perhaps. And maybe there's a way to somehow make that happen. If that's the case, then I'm for it. If that's not the case, like, make this happen and make it go away, because we want to see Jade Cargill in the world title picture. She was the number 5 ranked women's wrestler in the entire world all last year. Yeah. How in the world does she come back and fight for the TBS title? Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just underlines no growth. And like you said, incorrectly that Kris Statlander, if she loses to Jade now, what does that even do for her? Like it really doesn't make. Yes, there's the New York show which they could be setting up for, but at the same time, Soraya's already made reference to, that's where I debuted last year. So for sure, the women's title is going to be on show, on the New York show, and I don't know if that means the TBS doesn't get a show in on that particular Grand Slam show on Dynamite. Maybe they will probably record Collision there and other stuff during the week, so it'll get its kind of big arena feel, but. I don't know. Wrestle Dream is there as well. I really think at best what they can do here is bring together, Jade, maybe Willow, maybe Mercedes Martinez, and the four of them have like a fatal four-way. Statlander regains the title or retains the title more like, and we just go our separate ways. Jade then just, use this literally as, right, Jade is on Collision, like you said, big person, big star on the show, and nothing more. Like I wouldn't even the one-on-one match is just so pointless to me. Just make it some type of four-way. She retains, and then that's it. That's it.
Right.
Move our separate ways.
I agree. This is a story that doesn't need a continuation at all. At all. Just let it die, and it's good. We can move forward.
Yeah.
But welcome back, Jade. Welcome back.
Yeah. It was good to see her back. Like you, I definitely thought this is the feel the hole that Punk has left. And to be honest, I wonder what kind of conversation that would have been if she was meant to be on hiatus for however long.
Right.
Is there a financial incentive there? It's like, Jade, we need you now. come back, please, for X amount. Like, I wonder how that all would have went down, but and I wonder, do they see her? Because even in the last week, I don't think we saw the likes of Danielson, particularly on Dynamite. I think they've said quite clearly that Danielson is going to be like helping with the booking of Collision.
Sure.
So I wonder if it's going to be a thing. Again, they've said there's no brand split or soft brand split anymore. Is there going to be a thing where Jade is just going to be a Collision talent, or primarily a Collision talent? That might also be a thing.
Let's hope so, because I think, again, if we're tuning in on Saturdays exclusively to see Jade, ratings go up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Hey, Dazzle, you with us?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. I think I'm all right.
Do you want to give us your thoughts on Jade Cargill returning to the TBS scene?
So just in general, I've got a feeling this has been said already. I'm sure it has.
Oh no.
I think it's a bad move that it's the TBS scene that she's returning to.
The beauties of live TV, folks.
Guys, I think we've lost him again.
Yeah, I think he's back. Is he back? I think so. Hey, Dazzle, say something. Can you hear us? He cannot.
No, I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, I don't think he can. Okay. Well, hopefully he'll be able to make it back. But yeah, Jade Cargill, TBS Championship. It'll be interesting to see what happens certainly this Saturday on Collision. And that is, of course, if we're not rushed to see her this Wednesday on Dynamite, which again, anything could happen.
Yeah. I mean, switching gears into the men's division AEW, we obviously saw the impassioned promo from Ricky Starks. This was post All Out, basically telling us how he's evolved and he didn't lose because he didn't tap out and all of this kind of stuff. Really selling himself and putting himself over as, I'm not content anymore. I'm greedy. I'm coming for everything and all that kind of stuff. it's good to see they're kind of continuing this run that Ricky Starks was on with the Punk stuff, although obviously Punk's gone, so that never really got a payoff. How do you see with those that are maybe in charge of booking Collision now, where they can take Ricky Starks' character?
Well, I definitely think they're on the right road in terms of allowing him to be extremely passionate, to really reference the things that we as fans know, in terms of, it's like every time he gets a step up, then the rug gets pulled from under him, and so that is something that we all can relate to. And it's interesting because I kind of liken, our relationship with a Ricky Starks, similar, ironically, to our relationship with a young Daniel Bryan, where we wanted to see him grow. We wanted to see him become champion. And every time he got a leg up, something crazy happened. In that case, it was the Authority or the powers that be, or he'd finally win the title and then somebody would cash in on him, like all of these kinds of things. And then he'd get injured. And so the irony of having Starks versus Danielson, given our long-term relationship with Danielson and where that's turned into, I think it's a brilliant move, and the fact that they're keeping Starks with top tier talent. It says that they are committed to Ricky Starks. And if Bryan Danielson is the way to go, again, CM Punk in some eyes may be more well-known, but Bryan Danielson is definitely more well-respected. And if Bryan Danielson is giving you the green light, we're winning. We're winning big. Yeah. So I think it's interesting and we'll get into this at some point, I'm sure, but it's kind of wild to see, are these the same people that are writing stories for a Jade Cargill that are writing for Ricky Starks? Because it seems like the Ricky Starks story, we can kind of see light at the end of the tunnel, and we can see this is going to end with him being easily the star of the show. And so I just hope that all of this continues for him, because all of the things that he's doing, they're working.
Yeah. I think he's a great talent. I can't help, maybe it's a cynic in me. I can't help but think that, allegedly next year is when his contract is up. And now it's like, let's really kind of show him what we can offer him so he sticks around. Because we already know he's good friends with Mr. Rhodes over there in WWE. He would vouch to bring him over. So, I think they're really showing, putting their best foot forward, as you say, to show and book him really well. Maybe he sees some type of championship gold before the end of the year, to kind of culminate this desire and hunger that he has. He's really shown, that you can basically hinge an entire show on his back and he can carry it. And this is he was very good in Team Taz. At times he was, I just thought, what is going on in this Team Taz? I was really not interested at points, especially because the title, the FTW title, just means nothing. And Ricky Starks is making a nothing title that they don't recognize kind of mean something. So he's been plucking away at this for a very long time. And like you rightly say, with the likes of Danielson, allegedly with the pen now, he knows what it looks like to be trying, and, not getting your opportunity for whatever reason, or your opportunities falling to the wayside because of other factors. So he's definitely in good hands now. I would like to think they're not waiting to treat him right because his contract is coming up, but we know how human beings work as well. So,
we do. And I'll say this, I think if they're ever going to pull the trigger, they have a few months left, because, we may get into this other big news, but with the big news surrounding the other company and what happened with them today, I think for wrestlers who are curious, the opportunities abound potentially, in other places. And if I kind of live by this theory: if you treat people right, then they never have to update their Indeed or LinkedIn resumes, right? Like, because you're treating me right, I'm not worried about how much additional money I can get paid elsewhere because I love where I am. Now, as soon as you start mistreating me, then I need to start updating my resume, and suddenly all of these other offers look really good. So I think it's going to be really important for AEW to treat Ricky Starks and all of their other talent really well, because this bidding war of 2024 probably got a lot more intense as of today. And so AEW and everybody else has to get their stuff in order so that nobody's thinking about going anywhere else. Otherwise, 2024 could be an even more interesting year.
Yeah, it's a lot of these guys that came to AEW in 2019, their short to mid-term contracts are all kind of up within this period. So
Right.
it is going to be interesting to see where they are. And just before we kind of move over and talk about that big deal that you were referring to, Powerhouse Hobbs, he's on the show as well. It doesn't even look like he's getting involved in this whole Miro or Miro's wife mix up thing that they've got going on in their household. He's his own mission. Basically, I want you to explain this to me, because I can't lie. This Book of Hobbs thing, this particular promo on Collision was looking very redeemerish. Although it said that the Book of Hobbs isn't a Bible or anything like that, it looks somehow how they were kind of posing Miro when he was doing the heavy Redeemer stuff as the TNT champion. How did you see this promo and segment?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because you're right. If the Book of Hobbs is not Bible-esque, and yet it is still very ambiguous in terms of what it is, like, is it the book that you are getting guidance from to figure out your next move, or is it a book that you're writing in as things are happening? Like, which is it? And the fact that that's not clear actually, I think, proves to be detrimental to Hobbs, you know? So it seemed like when Hobbs was hanging with QTV and won the TNT championship, okay, we were starting to make some sense of this Book of Hobbs. And even when they were doing the little vignette, we were making some sense of it. Now, then it disappeared for a while when QTV happened. And now we got this book, and I'm like, what does it mean? And I also think it could really be a mistake that he's not more involved in this Miro situation, because again, him being able to take advantage of Miro while Miro is distracted, I think really helps to further everybody's story. So I think that they've got to add some clarity to what this Book of Hobbs actually is. Or, you know, are we looking at another real world championship with this Book of Hobbs, where it, you know, it's just a book that doesn't seem to mean a whole lot. And so we got to figure that out. And I hope they can help tell that story a bit better so that it makes sense for Hobbs. Otherwise, he's just carrying around a journal.
Yeah, this is it. I'm trying to figure out. He's clearly making it seem like it's not any type of spiritual guidance. So surely it is just a journal with your notes and your plans and you know, how you're going to achieve them. Like it's not really clear. And just the way that the vignette was framed made me think: are they biting Redeemer Miro, or are they meant to be mocking that character? Like, I don't know. It wasn't very clear, but I want to see him do well. Again, that's another person that, you know, come next year could be in the shop window if there's movement. So yeah, let's try this again. Hey Dazzle, you in the building?
I think I'm back. I think Tony Khan's probably been messing with my connection because he doesn't want me to talk about Jade Cargill.
Go for it.
To go back to that really quickly, as I said, I think this has probably been said, but I think it's just a really bad move for her to come back the way she did on the show that she did. It could have been a week before, and it really should have been, you know, not necessarily coming straight back for the TBS Championship, which in a way kind of makes sense because obviously the way she lost it and all the rest of it. But at the same time, it doesn't make me feel as though she's going to move to any type of Women's World Championship anytime soon. And for me, that's the issue. Like, what happens if she does beat Statlander? Do we then get? I'm sure we're not going to get another like 50 matches unbeaten and whatever else. But does she have another lengthy reign with TBS Championship? It really should have been not even the TBS Championship, and probably not even the Women's World Championship straight away, but at least a higher level female in the division. Maybe Toni Storm, Britt Baker. Britt Baker would have been perfect actually. And then you would have thought if she beats her, then maybe beats one other person, then it's the Women's World Championship. But until then, it's kind of like, right, we're just throwing her back in where she was, and it's like, it's not needed. It's just not needed. It's nice to see her back. Great to see her back. It's a nice, shocking how quick she came back, because we said it'd probably be like another 6 months next year or something like that. But it didn't excite me. The way it happened, what happened. Yeah, I'm just not excited about it.
We said it's down to Punk. If Punk doesn't leave Collision or leave AEW, she probably doesn't come back so soon. But, in the last 2 weeks, Punk's left. We've seen Danielson on the show. We've seen the Young Bucks on the show. We saw Moxley on the show this week for the first time, or maybe second time or so. And then, we saw Jade Cargill. So they're stacking the show with all their big guns because obviously they've lost Punk. So I think it's just merely that I say panicked. They didn't need to put her right back in the same TBS spot, but they've gone ahead and done, I guess, what was a place where they could just slide her in. So,
and I think that might I think that might be detrimental to Collision in general. The panic booking. Yes, Punk brought so many eyes to the show and all the rest of it. Ratings probably have easily gone down and all the rest, but to throw in so many heads. Again, it's something that we said last week about the show. It's going to be detrimental to other stars in the company who were kind of almost hoping or were dependent on Collision to be a place where they could be or something like that. So I don't like it. I just don't like it, basically. Moxley being on there was a little random. Yes, it's Bryan Danielson's friend, of course, and he was about to get beat up by two guys, of course, but at the same time.
He had a title defense against Andretti. What's his face? Yeah, Andretti was Andretti.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's literally just, let's just not let the ratings completely tank, and just do what we can to kind of keep the ship afloat. Do some booking. Obviously, they got a couple pay-per-views coming up or TV specials as well. So we'll see where they go from there.
I think there needs to be a little bit more trusting in the guys that were on the show, because when you really think about it, Punk wasn't the only attraction. Punk wasn't the only person that was actually getting the ratings. We obviously we've talked about Ricky Starks. You've got Bullet Club Gold who were doing great things. So yeah, I mean they have to expect the ratings to drop, and they're doing what they're doing because of that. But just give it a few more, weeks of good, solid wrestling and good, solid stories. I think they would have been okay. This just feels like panic mode, and to throw Jade back in the way they did was just a bad move. Just a bad move.
Yeah.
Have we talked about Starks and Bryan?
We've talked about Jade, Starks and Bryan, and I guess you can take the floor with Swerve and Hangman.
Let's go with Swerve and Hangman. So Hangman Adam Page came out, did his thing, talked about winning the Battle Royal that he won and how he donated to charity. He used to be a teacher, so he gave it to the Chicago, I can't remember the full name, but it was, educational charity.
Public Education Fund, I think it was.
That's the one. Yeah, Chicago Public Education Fund. And was interrupted by one juvenile delinquent by the name of Swerve.
Oh, wow.
I love
wow.
As of today, that is his character. Juvenile.
Yes.
Who came out and, of course, questioned Page's position, Page's commitment, Page's determination, and him, saying that he's comfortable wherever he is. He's no longer at the top of the card. He's no longer, one of the main guys in the company, and then challenged him to his spot in the company, I guess. What are we thinking about this move? Swerve's gone from the coffin to the cowboy. Is this a good move for Swerve? What are we thinking, Gerard? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a great move. And here's why I think it's a great move. It's clear that we don't have to hang around in Darby Allin, Nick Wayne country anymore, right? Like,
True.
that's done. And so now, Swerve can move on to bigger and better things. And at this point, Swerve is now dealing with a former world champion, a former tag team champion, a member of the elite. And I mean, if you're going to really start to go after the brass ring, this is a great starting point. So I like this move. I love what Swerve had to say. We've not seen anybody challenge Hangman like this since Moxley, where Moxley let him have it, and said a lot of things that really jarred him. And I think we all could really register as we thought about the things that Swerve was saying. We were like, yeah, that is true. Like, what has he been doing? Like, this guy was supposed to be, everybody talks about the pillars. He was definitely pegged as a pillar. And, he ended up hanging out with the Dark Order for a while and then just kind of fading off into the sunset, a forgettable world title reign. And here we are. You know what I mean? So I think Swerve was dead on with this promo. I think the way he delivered it was amazing, what he had to say. In fact, I feel like Dynamite was really on fire this week. And I think somebody had a pep talk and said, you know what? Punk's gone. Go do what you do. Because everybody came out on fire. And I loved seeing Swerve being part of that. So I like this move. And I think that this feud done right does what we've been wanting, which is elevate Swerve up the card. Because if we're looking at the international championship, we're looking at Moxley now, which I think that'd be a great, great place for him to hang. I don't even want him to touch the TNT title. Like nobody cares about the TNT title right now.
Yeah.
So, but I think by virtue of going to Hangman, we've totally circumvented that whole TNT title division. And now we're looking at bigger and better things.
While in its general state and its foundation, Swerve going for a guy like Adam Page, as you said, a former world champion, a former tag team champion, one of the main guys in the company and all the rest of it. Are we kind of doing this whole thing of questioning Page's confidence again? Like we've seen it before, right? So, Mex, what are you thinking when it comes to that part of all of this?
Yeah, it seemed like it was anxious cowboy territory that we were getting back into. I think this is just the typical, the heel just taking a bite at somebody, like literally. It was very good points in what he made, and obviously the emphasis on, if I had all your opportunities, I would have been already the first AEW Black World Champion. And the crowd was big for that sort of thing, because
I'm glad that he actually said that. That was huge.
Yeah, nice.
I think that was very pointed, like very pointed sort of thing. But again, if we're to rank the black wrestlers in AEW, he is probably, it's him and Ricky Starks probably right now that you would see could collect that accolade first. But like we've seen Hangman in this state. My negativity about this, although it's a absolutely brilliant spot for Swerve, like Gerard already said, going against someone in the elite, a former world champion, all that kind of stuff. It's a big scalp if he wins. Does he win? I can't see it. And I'm just thinking, as great as a position it is, when is Swerve going to win a feud? And I'm talking about any feud. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Please, if someone has one, and within this character of the Mogul affiliates, Mogul Embassy, if you know when Swerve has won a feud outright, please remind me, because he gets into feuds and he might win one-off matches, but the overall feud, does he come out on top? I haven't seen it, and this positioning with Hangman is brilliant for him, and it shows, right, we've got our eye on you, Swerve, and we can trust you, and this is the next thing. But can only, and this might be pessimistic of me, I only think that this is food for Hangman, and then Hangman might be the Full Gear November opponent for MJF. Like, I can't see Swerve winning this feud. I can see him, doing a great job, and then maybe staying around in this kind of next scene, and then maybe we take a step towards an international title. But maybe I'm being pessimistic, and I hate that about myself. But like, I can't see this being a successful win of a feud for Swerve at all.
I'm thinking the same thing, because I'm starting to feel as though he is just the good heel that always gets beaten, and nothing really comes from that. It shows that you're trusted in the ring, and you're trusted to kind of elevate someone and all the rest of it, but that's not where Swerve should really be, or not for a long time at least. Anyway, if it happens with this one, then I'll be like, okay, this is just gonna keep happening. If he does come out on top in this feud, I'll be a lot more optimistic. But yeah, this is Hangman Adam Page we're talking about. This is like just Kip Sabian, for example, or you know what I mean, where Hangman's always gonna get beyond the upper hand.
Hangman is all elite royalty. Like, let's call it
Exactly.
what it is. He's all elite royalty. He's in with the boys. Now, maybe it's a thing where, just booking in general says that, the heel doesn't need to win these situations and stuff like that. And it's going to be a thing, one day, in Jesus' name. The minute he wins the title, or any title, we're never going to see it coming. It's just going to be Swerve is challenging this. And because of how he's being booked and he's a heel, we're just going to dismiss, he's not going to win. And the minute he wins, we're going to lose our brains. We're going to go crazy, sort of thing. But I just don't need him. It's hard watching him lose feuds after feuds after feuds. And these are good. Like, obviously, he's in he's in bondage with Darby Allin, but he just never seems to really, like I say, win the feud. And Hangman, I just can't see it either.
Because for me, kind of like, there was no reason why he couldn't have won that feud, the coffin match. And as much as Darby Allin had a TNT match the following week, it still could have been a thing where Sting was the one that ended up in the coffin, maybe, you know what I mean, or something like that. And then Swerve kind of comes out on top, and then he's even more, brash and confident as ever. I think that would have been a better way to go, but with how it is now, I'm not too sure what happens. Gerard, what are you thinking?
I'm holding out hope. I really am. And in terms of feuds, I thought he won the feud with Keith Lee at the very least.
Did they have a blow-off match? They never had a blow-off match.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I don't remember if they actually had the match.
Nope.
I mean, now we could make the argument that he won from the perspective of he's in the marquee match and we can't really find Keith Lee right now. So we could look at it from that perspective. But I actually think he's going to win this feud. Maybe I'm just the optimist here. But I do, and here's the reason why. I think there's more. There are two stories to be told. I think the rise of Swerve and the eventual fall of Hangman. Hangman just been kind of hanging there. Hangman needs a massive fall because we want to watch him come back. That fall needs to really begin with Swerve Strickland. And I think it can happen. I think there are a number of ways for it to happen. Right now, the Elite are still kind of all in their own world. Like, you've got Kenny Omega, who just can't buy a win these days. The Young Bucks, who, are still reeling from their tag title loss. And so we don't see that unity that we used to see with them. So I think he loses, and then all of the Elite sits up and goes, okay, well, what are we doing right now? Nobody can buy a win. We're losing to FTR. We're losing to Takeshita. We lost to Swerve. Do we have it anymore? Are we even Elite? I think that becomes a story that you can really start to follow on their YouTube channel, on all of the spaces. And we can actually start asking those questions, because AEW in general has changed an awful lot since 2019, where it was seemingly all built around the elite. It's not that way anymore. The Young Bucks can't keep a tag. Matter of fact, none of the elite have gold at all and are nowhere in contention for gold. So I think Swerve winning this feud is the right deal for everybody, because you now have multiple stories that can come out of this. So I think we're going to see a Swerve win in the long run. I don't know how long the long run is, but I think we're going to see that.
I think that would be fantastic storytelling, to be honest, with the elite, kind of all four of them feeling as though they're not good enough, maybe, and on a losing streak and all that kind of stuff. I think that would help massively. One thing that AEW have done right in terms of the story has obviously been the whole thing with MJF and Adam Cole, and I think it just needs a little bit more of that type of thing, long term. AEW was known for its long-term booking, but it was never necessarily compelling storylines. It was just long-term feuds than it was long-term storytelling. And I think something like that would be phenomenal. It'd be nice to kind of, in the reality space, to see them decide to take a step back and let other people kind of move forward. And then just to see how it plays out on TV would also be interesting. And as you said, Gerard, all the different spaces, like being the elite on YouTube and all the rest of it as well. So I think that would be great. That kind of gives me a little bit of hope. But when you first said about being optimistic about Hangman losing and kind of going on this downward spiral, my thinking was, but is he though, because he won that battle royal? So is this his
on
way
Rampage?
Back up? Yeah, but it was still a win.
Who was in that?
Wait, the battle royal that was at the pay-per-view.
Oh, the pre-show. Sorry,
the pre-show.
The pre-show 0
Not on
Rampage.
Rampage.
Yeah. Of course.
That's much better.
So I'm just thinking maybe, but
I mean, the same Hangman that was main eventing pay-per-views is now winning battle royals on a pre-show.
0 hour. Yeah, true.
I mean, the truth of it now is that Gerard's booking is excellent. And if they don't do that, I'm going to be livid. I'm going to be very angry. So you put it out there into the atmosphere. This is ultimately the way to go, just because of how all the stars are lining up with everything else happening in the elite. Maybe that's the plan. But I mean, at the same time, I don't feel like any of us can be blamed, because as great as Swerve has been over the last few months, 6 months or so, there's just no real victory at the end of the tunnel.
And that's the problem. He fits the bill of the heel that's always going to lose. Even the type of character, the type of character that Prince Nana is as well. It's kind of like this feud with a comedic manager, heel manager as well, and it's kind of like they're always supposed to lose. As great as we all know he's in the ring, no one will doubt any of that part. Character-wise, it's not generally the type of character that keeps moving up. But the funny thing is like, even if he lost to Adam Page, like even with that same character, he could easily kind of then pick a fight with Adam Cole. That's moving higher up the ladder, but at the same time, he's still not. It's still not progressing, because he's going to lose that as well. So that's the issue that I have with where he's at or how he's being used at the moment. But I'm sure we'll get a great match out of it. However many matches we get, Brian Cage is going to be doing his thing as well as the big guy. I just don't get it. But yeah, we are where we are, and I'm expecting a great match from them, and we'll see where it goes from there. We'll see where it goes. Moving away moving all the way away from AEW. We're going to WWE. I don't know why I said a little bit. It's not ROH.
Right. That's funny. Wow.
We go all the way to WWE. Let's hit this one straight away. Of course, we can't ignore the news that today WWE became part of the TKO brand. now merged with UFC.
Not merged.
Not merged with UFC, but under the umbrella of TKO, and both
Correct.
of them sit there. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because that's what I wanted to say. Because people have this whole conception that now this thing has happened, WWE is going to totally change. We're going to lose the essence of WWE. We're going to see, we're going to see whoever it is take on Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns is going to hold the UFC championship. And people are asking the question, oh, does that mean that WWE is now going to be real, or does it mean that UFC is going to be fake? What? Gerard, as the wise man, as the professor, give us a little bit more information as to how this whole thing works and what it means and what is and is not going to change.
So, I've been telling people ever since the day after WrestleMania, when this was announced that this was going to happen, that this is not a merger, because it is not. It is an acquisition. There is a difference, okay? And so the reason we know it's not a merger is because you're literally going to have a parent company that oversees both of these brands. And here's why that's important. Endeavor recognizes, number one, that there are two different audiences between UFC and WWE. They are two different products. They go after two completely different demographics. And so because they understand that, they recognize there is plenty of value in each individual brand already. There's not a need to merge the brand. Now, what happens is both brands get to now take advantage of all that TKO has to offer, which means both sides end up representing well. But for those who think I am merely playing semantics and that I don't have a clue what I'm talking about, I want to read this very important paragraph to you from the Deadline article that released today. Now, for those who don't know, on the New York Stock Exchange, it was TKO that actually rang the bell this morning with members of Endeavor and WWE and UFC all present. So Nick Khan, Triple H, Dana White, all of the players, except for Vince McMahon, because he's still out on back surgery, they were all there. But I want to read this very important excerpt. Here's what it says so that everybody can put this merger idea to bed. It says, quote, "There's been speculation of rolling the leagues together, but that won't happen domestically, at least for a while. Internationally, there's a lot of opportunity for that, but currently in the U.S., we'll be negotiating UFC and WWE individually just by virtue of the fact that they're in different renewal cycles." Now, this is speaking, of course, to their media rights situation, where for WWE, their contracts with both Fox and NBC Universal are up in 2024. The streaming piece with Peacock ends in 2026. So there's plenty of time to negotiate that. But it's the big media rights piece, which has earned WWE a lot of money, that's up for grabs. So clear, just to be clear, maybe down the road, they might see somewhere where they can bring some sort of, partnership between the two to do something. But domestically, internationally, these two brands are going to remain separate and do what they do. So ultimately what it means for those of you who are fans of WWE, nothing will change. Triple H is not on the board, which he was on the WWE board. People have been making a big deal about that. But what you really need to be concerned about is Triple H is very much still head of creative. That's really all you need to worry about, because that means the product that you've been seeing for the last year and a half that you've really been enjoying, you'll continue to see. And I think that is of extreme importance. And again, I think the folks over at TKO recognize, with all of the records that have been broken by WWE in the last 12 months, with all of the merch, with all of the money that's being made, with the gate for WrestleMania 40 already breaking records, we don't need to change that, because the language that TKO and Endeavor understand is money. So I think where things will be different is now Vince McMahon will not technically be lording over WWE in this particular way, because he's going to have a boss. And that's a whole different ballgame. Getting a boss for the first time at 79, It's going to be real different. So I would say wrestling fans.
The boss is his friend that he's known for 20-something years.
This is true, but that boss has majority stake in this company now. So that's the other piece that's important, is that Vince McMahon is no longer the majority owner of WWE. WWE stakeholders have 49% ownership, and then Endeavor has 51% ownership. So it's a different day in terms of business, but yeah, I think what you're going to continue to see is WWE continue to forge ahead in terms of creative.
To kind of put it into perspective for people to understand it a little bit easier as well, it's similar to Disney owning Marvel, Star Wars, and whatever else. But you're not going to see Darth Vader in an Avengers movie.
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. They're
nor will Mickey Mouse show up in any of those places. You know?
Right.
So
imagine Mickey Mouse taking on Thanos. All right. Anyway. So none of that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's not a case of things are gonna change. Yes, things have changed, but in terms of what we see on our screens and what we're used to and what we love, very, very little real change in that respect. Moving away from that, then, and speaking of this whole booking scenario, Friday night on SmackDown, we saw the new unified tag team champions, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damien Priest, take out the Brawling Brutes as they stood tall with their belts in hand and showing off and all the rest of it. Out comes Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Interestingly enough, they came face to face with Balor, Priest, and of course, Little Dirty Dom. And Bobby Lashley has something very interesting to say. He was like, yes, it's true that you might be dominant right now, but it's going to be us who's going to take over. Now, the way that was said, I was waiting for him to say the name. But he said us.
No name.
I mean, in our notes when we were kind of working out how we were going to run the show and what we're going to talk about, I've called this group the No Name Trio because I'm still waiting for this name. I don't know what to call them. It's difficult to continue to keep saying Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. That's a lot of words. It's a lot of words. Almost like a tongue twister. But Mex, do they need a name? Do they actually need a name, or are we kind of just being a bit too specific? And with all of this and them having a name,
like the problem is, how do we refer to them then? If they don't have a name, how do we refer to them? Is it just Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits? Is it are they just friends? Are they associates? Are they just pushing each other for better? Like, I don't know. Like, it would just be much more easier to house them, since they're all on the same mission and everything, under just one name. Like, this is our faction. And even if they still wanted to have that kind of separation, that we are still the Street Profits, Bobby Lashley is still a singles guy. Like, but we are all under this house called whatever. So yeah, it'll be a lot easier. And again, like you're saying, it could just be us being used to typical wrestling tropes and semantics and things of that nature. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, don't try to do something different. And we're here calling you Bobby Lashley and Street Profits, and it's just like, are you a faction? Are you not? Like, just answer the question. Give yourselves a name, and the chances are that the booking team haven't thought of what the name is yet.
Yeah, more than likely.
Let's just put this out on TV, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Gerard, as a man who is in the commentating space, does this type of thing cause an issue when we eventually, I'm sure we will, probably even by next week, get this 6-man tag with the Judgment Day versus Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits? How does it, does it cause an issue when announcing or continually kind of having to say the names over and over again? Does it cause a problem?
I think it is an issue. And I think part of the reason it's an issue is we aren't being elitist, dare I say, in asking for a name. Every tag team you've put together in pro wrestling has a name. We're in a company right now where Gunther is his own guy and he's the Intercontinental Champion, but he was celebrated by Imperium. We've got the WWE Women's Champion, Io Sky, who is her own woman, but she's part of Damage Control, right? We've got Rhea Ripley, who's the World Women's Champion, and she's part of Judgment Day, right? We can go through all of these things where all of these elements have identities. You know, Roman Reigns, the world champion, is part of the bloodline. We can name all of these things, but when it comes to the nameless wonders that are Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, we go and we get frozen. Give these guys a name. I'm gonna call them nameless wonders until we come up with something. And I just, for me, I call them the brothers. Call them something. I mean, to me, we just have to because it is the same luxury that you have handed to every other tag team and every other faction in the history of this company. Maybe what they're trying to do is, you know, do what the Horsemen did and get lucky and grab a promo, and from the promo you extract something. You know, Arn Anderson cuts this promo, says we're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, throws the 4 up, and all of a sudden the 4 horsemen are born. If they're waiting for that magic of a moment, my concern is, why do we have a creative team? If you're so creative, come up with a name or give them the power and say, guys, because here's my concern. They're losing out on merchandising money right now because we don't have a name. All right. We don't have shirts we can sell. We don't have, you know, hats. We don't have wristbands. We don't have posters. We don't have the kinds of things like you had with the Hurt Business and like you have with everybody else. Street Profits can still be Street Profits, you know, who are part of whatever. Right. But I think now we're at the space, since we're seeing them so much on television, they are losing money every single week that they come out without a name, because that's no merch we can sell. There's no, they don't even have a unique theme song or anything like that. So we're coming out to Bobby Lashley's theme song. Why are the Street Profits coming out to Bobby Lashley's theme song and nobody knows it? We'll call you Cheers, because you're going to go where everybody knows your name. That's what we'll call you. We'll call you Cheers. That's who you are. You are now Cheers, because we all want to know your name. And you haven't told us yet. So from here on in, when Cheers fights the Judgment Day for the tag team titles, I'll be a happy guy, because I can call them Cheers, because they won't come up with it. We want to know your name. You are now Cheers. There you go.
Cheers for that.
There you are.
I mean, it's weird. It's like you said, you know, you want to say a name, but you've got no name to say. It feels like the new trend that's going on at the minute with the Beyonce mute challenge. You know what I mean? It's like, and carry on. You know, what is going on? It's crazy, and going back to the whole point of merchandise as well, like the joke is as well, like the Street Profits could easily be losing out as well, even in just their own merch, because they're now completely different and now completely new, all the rest of it. I'm sure to a point, not on a whole, but to a point that even their current merch probably wouldn't feel, you know, you won't feel, you know, infused to buy their current merch, because it's all very much the old Street Profits that were, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, there's a lot that's missing here, and that's the other thing as well. Like with the whole this whole creative thing, like why is there like a 20+ strong creative team and they can't think of a name? Even a few weeks back when they kind of made their first appearance as this new Street Profits and beat up the 2 tag teams and stuff. We even said like a word or a phrase that was being said often was $1 million, thinking that would be the name. And whether that's a great name or a bad name, it was said so many times to make you think, okay, something down those lines, or whether it be a name, whether it be their catchphrase, like there was something. But now it's all kind of just completely disappeared. And we're calling them Us or Cheers.
Cheers. That's who you are.
I think Cheers is the one. I think Cheers is the one. I think we'll move with that one. I swear, if I see that they're called Cheers after this, I would die.
We will lose it.
Die. Oh my god. Another set of people that we kind of, I think it was Gerard that said it a couple of weeks ago. Had the idea of kind of merging with this Cheers group. Is Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. We saw Xavier Woods take on Drew McIntyre on Raw yesterday, but what came before that was very interesting. Yeah, Xavier Woods kind of bumped into Drew McIntyre in backstage, and definitely stuck it to McIntyre with. With what he was saying, I'm sure you're, upset and probably jealous of Kofi Kingston because he won his world championship in front of 82,000 people screaming his name while you won it in front of nobody in the Performance Center. Mex, your reaction made me go straight to you. What are you thinking?
Totally disrespectful coming from Mr. Xavier Woods, the guy that couldn't even get on TV when everyone else in his faction was injured. They didn't even trust him to give him a match as a single star. Now you want to run it up to someone that's been the WWE champion. How dare you? Kind of picking on him for no reason. We really can see Drew is in a bad mood, and then for no reason at all. Like, yes, he came man to man and was all cool. Drew didn't disrespect him. Drew was just wanting to walk away from the situation. He pulls him back and starts taking digs. Even he got his little press line in of, Kofi won it in front of 82,000 people. I wonder why he's mentioning that all of a sudden. But yeah, then he comes and says, yeah, you won it in front of nobody. These times you've got Big E here campaigning for you on social media that you should win the WWE title. Give it a break. I was happy that Drew beat him up in the ring, man. I was so happy. Obviously, this is a nice little shift from whatever Riddle's on. Obviously, Riddle's in a bit of trouble right now. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, like let's get Drew cooking again, man, because again, he's someone that by next year he's got to be out of contract. So
yeah, it's very true. That Claymore was brutal as well on Woods.
It was.
Jeez, that was brutal. Trust me, Gerard. What are you thinking with this whole thing? Of course, now this kind of happened a little bit because Riddle's in a bit of trouble, and whatsoever. But is this a good way to go? And does it go further in the sense of, do the New Day then kind of put this little bit more of a mean turn on what they're doing, and they're in not cahoots but clashing with Drew McIntyre more than working with him?
I think it's going to get interesting. I'm sure Drew, I would like to think that, this kind of match just kind of settled things between the two, because there was a great match. If they decide to go forward with this, I think some of it will obviously depend on where Riddle stands with all of this. But I do think this was a great way to keep that particular story going, because there were other elements involved with it as well. So, I mean, to me, the blow-off ends up being potentially a triple threat involving the Viking Raiders. And, maybe out of that, we get a number one contender for the tag team titles.
True.
But it was entertaining. And it was one of those things that, a couple of weeks ago, we didn't see potentially happening. And now it's like, ooh, this is interesting. And what does it mean that Xavier can now hang with Drew McIntyre? Because he did. He had a great match with him. And so maybe this is kind of the resurgence of the New Day that we've been wanting to see. For them to do that, they'll have to get this win, one way or the other. Because if they lose, then we're back to square one with that. But I thought this was a very nice distraction. And if it continues, there are ways they can go with it. Like, I don't know if they fully want to let Drew kind of turn all the way on the other side of things. It's been a long time since he's done it. But I think that comment that Xavier made may really kind of stick under his skin a bit, because the question now is how, if I'm Drew McIntyre, if I'm hearing that, I may completely abandon ship with this whole Riddle thing because now I want to be the world champion. You know, I need to be able to have a title win in front of people. And I'm on Raw. That makes much more sense than a random tag team with Riddle of all people. You know, so I hope that if this does anything, it perhaps propels Drew in one direction and then allows the New Day to really kind of say, hey, look, we can get this done. Let's go on and go for it and make a run of it.
I think a nice way to kind of propel and go with both of those ideas, with the New Day kind of going after the tag team championships, Drew going after the world championship, is to have a Viking Drew. If Drew then kind of, you know, has the Viking Raiders behind him, he then goes off and goes for a world championship. The Viking Raiders are still in the picture for the tag team thing. Yeah, it's a nice way to go. Obviously, you know, we've seen kind of like, you know, Braveheart type of Drew, so we can revisit that somewhat to a point. And I think it would be a nice way to go. I think that would be a nice way to go, to see Drew as a heel again as well. I think this face space that he's in, and the way he's kind of come back hasn't necessarily excited me. And I think he needs more than that. He deserves more than that. And, you know, he needs a world title run, or at least challenge for that as well. So we'll see how that works. On that note, with Gerard telling his people to be quiet because he's still on the show. We are hello.
Yeah. I'm on live, son. Is that okay? Can I finish the show? Oh boy. I need that.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy. Well, live TV, folks. Wonderful.
That's the end of the show.
There we go.
Guys, you are watching WrstlXtra live. We are on the WrestleManiaC UK YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to know when we are live again, which is every Tuesday. Also, as well, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe on the WrestleManiaC UK YouTube channel to see this guy Mex put out all his reactions from WWE and AEW and everything else in between if he feels like it. You can find Mex also on the WrestleManiaC UK YouTube, not YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I don't know what's going on right now. On WrestleManiac.uk and WrestleManiac UK on X. Follow this guy, Gerard Bonner, on all things Bonafide. You can also find him on the Faction Show, WWT Live, Southern Honor Wrestling, Battle Slam, and the Nightmare Factory. Yes, I got it.
Yes.
You can find me, A Dazzle, on Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram and BWA Dazzle on X. Guys, this has been our show. It was interesting, and we'll see you again next week. Peace.